All right, Working Dog Radio, broadcasting the bite. We are back with another great episode from Canton, Ohio. I am Eric Samber. With me from Tulsa, Oklahoma, as always, is the hell was that noise? Ted Summers. Ted, what's going on?
Not a lot. We're knocking some episodes out here back to back. We just finished recording one, which should have already been out. If you're listening to these out of order, we just finished up with Karen Billiard. I call her the teeth doctor. Because that's what we talked about. It was all teeth stuff. And there was a couple of revelations in that episode. I was like, I've been training police dogs a long time. And how did I just know this? Like, how did I just find this out? So there was a lot of good information in that episode. A lot of stuff that we hit on from, for the life of me, I can't remember what episode that was. It was in the 60s, I think. This episode is like 260, 270-ish. That episode, the teeth episode, was in the 60s. So it's been about 200 episodes since we even talked about teeth in general, other than whatever. So this is going to kind of piggyback on this one. Today, we're going to talk about like emergency medicine, field medicine for injured working dogs. So with us is Dr. Lisa Converse. She graduated from University of Wisconsin-Madison Veterinary School in 95, completed residency at the Fox Animal Referral Center in Appleton, Wisconsin. She became a diplomat of the American College of Veterinary and Emergency and Critical Care in 2010. So like 25 years later, practical practice ownership and private practice and leadership responsibilities. And I'm putting this in quotations because she retired from private practice. So from 2017 to 2019, she serves as board of directors for Wisconsin Veterinary Medical Foundation. In 2019, she retired again from the board for personal reasons, but dove right into enhancing veterinary community relationships through a nonprofit organization. She co-founded the nonprofit organization Operational Canine Medical Team of Wisconsin in 2019. They focus on educating canine handlers and emergency medical service personnel on emergency medical management of law enforcement canines. Her group also advocated for the development of passage of Senate Bill 435 in 2018, which allows first responders the legal authority to perform life-saving measures on domestic animals at the scene of an emergency. This nonprofit organization benefited through financial support from the WVMF and would like nothing more than to give back to support, which is part of the reason she's here. And we'll go into the story of how her and Eric met at the conference here in a little bit. But late 2019, she began Eagle Veterinary Care Services, LLC, a current practice veterinary specialist. She continues to enjoy lecturing locally and nationally. I don't even know what that says. I'm a dog trainer. So she continues to enjoy lecturing locally and nationally on several different topics. Before we started recording, we were talking about heat trauma, which we're going to talk about too here in a little bit. So including trauma, bleeding disorders, CPR, working dog medicine, and general wellness. She's working on an early reader short story book series about different facets of veterinary medicine to continue to educate through her nonprofit. So you have two kids, Samuel and Ella, and enjoys time outdoors. Do you have any dogs?
We do. We have two shepherds. One is a deputy canine, and then one is a teaching dog.
Oh, excellent. Oh, your husband's a canine handler, correct?
Yes, partner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Excellent. So I think I covered it. At least that's what we got. So
that's more than enough.
The too long didn't read on this is you spent your entire career advocating for emergency medicine for working dogs, is what it sounds like, from early on. So give us a little bit of the background of how you got into that like specific specialty and like how we started this whole process.
It probably started back in the early 2000s. There was a funding thing. It was called Breathe. It was a project where all of the firehouses got pet oxygen masks. And they were distributed to everyone across at least the state of Wisconsin, but I think this happened across the United States. And so we would get calls like, we got this pet oxygen mask and we have no idea what to do with it. So we would go to firehouses, show them how to use the pet oxygen masks. And then that just snowballed over 20 plus years, where then we were teaching CPR. Then we became pretty close to a lot of the law enforcement agencies and doing the same thing for their canines. And so we decided in 2019, let's just put some structure around this. So we started the Operational Canine Medical Team of Wisconsin. We also, at the same time, because there was a big national push to teach point of injury care to military working dogs, search and rescue dogs, law enforcement canines, is we were realizing that.
This episode is brought to you by Kinetic Dog Food, kineticdogfood.com. Ted and I love it, man. It's such a really, really good high-performance dog food, but also their 24K formula. We use it for training. It is amazing. A nice big piece. No chicken in that particular formula. So if you get a new dog in from Europe, you don't know if he's allergic or not, don't worry about it. Check it out, kineticdogfood.com.
Our friends out in North Carolina at Highland Canine Training run great green and Finnish dog programs, as well as an online and in-person police supervisor course. Hit them up at highlandcaninetraining.com. That's letter K number 9, highlandcanine.com. 30% off with the discount code WDR30.
This episode also brought to you by Horizon Structures, horizonstructures.com. They will custom build you a kennel, drop it off, hook it up to your water and electric, and have that thing running with dogs in it the same day. They can custom build one. They got some already pre-built. Check them out on their website, horizonstructures.com. Anything you need from mild to wild, they're there.
One of the longtime supporters of the show has been Ray Allen Canine in Colorado Springs, Colorado. They've been around forever. RayAllen.com, where you can buy literally everything but the handler of the dog and the patrol vehicle. Everything else you can get from them. Hit them up, WDR10RAY for 10% off your order. That's WDR, the numbers 10RAY.
One of our longest sponsors is Dogtra, Dogtra Official, Dogtra.com. We love Dogtra. Their products are so good. Their e-collars, their ball poppers. Ted uses all kinds of different things at his place, from pet dog e-collars to working dog e-collars. He loves the hands-free 1900S. They've come out with some new models lately and an amazing new bark collar called the Smart Bark Collar. Check them out. Dogtra.com, WDR10 for 10% off a single item over $200. Dogtra.com.
Somebody that's been with us since the beginning is Arnaud out in Vegas at ALM Canine Equipment. If you follow me on social media, you see me wearing my ALM suits all the time. It's all I wear. I've got several of them. Eric's got several of them. We love Arnaud. We love ALM, custom made in Vegas. WDR or WD Radio for 10% off. That's WD Radio for 10% off. ALM Canine Equipment. That's letter K number 9, ALMcanineequipment.com.
Many states did not have the authority or the essentially legal protection for us to teach this and then for first responders to do this. So if you go back, our overriding American Veterinary Medical Association essentially says if you're not a veterinarian, you cannot prescribe, diagnose, or treat animals. That's just what it says. And so many states started jumping on that bandwagon and saying, we're going to make it legal and protect these first responders who are at scenes of emergency to take care of law enforcement canines and also, depending on the state, pets as well. So there's lots of people who drive around with their dogs and they're in rollover accidents, pets at fires. And so it Wisconsin includes domestic animals. Many states in their bill do not. They just say law enforcement canines. That's it.
Interesting. That was 2018?
Yes, that was 2018.
Oh, that was a long time. Yeah. I remember that Breathe. That was a pretty good initiative. You would think that it would pick up like what you were doing would pick up across the country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because, firemen, they're rescuing stuff. I've seen them put masks on. What are they supposed to do? Just set it down and let it just, when they know they can help? That's crazy.
I know. So we only have, 2 more states just passed their first responder bill. And I think now we have about 17 states that have a treatment bill passed. Some have a transport bill, meaning Wisconsin does not have a transport law. We've tried over the last 4 years to bring this forward, and we're getting pushback. Many people just say, we're going to transport the law enforcement canines and just ask for forgiveness later.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
What are
you going to do to me?
Right. They're like, why do we need a bill?
It's interesting when I was going to talk about this later, but since we're going down this road, we might as well go and do this. When one of our city council women here, her name is Karen Gilbert. She's awesome. In Tulsa, for Tulsa City Council. She also a dog owner. She has some German short hair pointers, but when she also runs our local 501 Crime Stoppers thing, or she's involved with it. So they had me come out and talk to them about our 501, which part of one of the projects we're working on is something similar to what's going on. And I told her, I said, this is aside from the heat alarm thing, which we can talk about later, but I said, they're not allowed, like if a dog gets injured, one of these police dogs gets injured, just kind of a fun fact, 14 of the last 15 dogs that have died in service in Oklahoma were killed because of a heat injury, not from anything service related. The one that was service related was stabbed, Canine in Oklahoma City. But the rest of them have all died in equipment malfunctions in vehicles. And so dovetailing on that is kind of like, for me, the next logical extension is to train first responders, whether it be fire and or emergency medical people, how to treat these police dogs. And she said, she kind of stopped me. She's like, they're not allowed to do that now. I'm like, no. So a week later, she texted me back and said she had an event the next day with TPD and Tulsa Fire. And she just went over to some of the paramedics and said, hey, would you be able to do this? Like if you show up TPD as an injured dog. And they looked at her and one of the paramedics was like, are you nuts? Like, no, like we can't do that. She's like, yeah. And I saw her in person a week later and she's like, I could not believe it I'm like, yeah, she's like, it was a revelation to me that's not a thing. I'm like, it's not a thing. And she was shocked. So the advocacy part of it, I think a lot of it is education and like, hey, this needs to be done. There's been multiple cases. Eric, who's the other, Jay and Debbie are the other ones that are going around doing that. I don't remember exactly what they focus on. Canines United. They focus on something very similar to this, but like they were just in Alabama or somewhere.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of training, seminars now, big training groups and seminars. But they were doing, I thought it was heat alarms originally, like way back in the day. That was their thing. Well, I might be wrong on that.
And Ray just texted me, our partner at HRD, this morning. So in South Carolina, which is where he's based, there was a dog that was at one of our seminars who had been stabbed during a deployment. And had been able to get him to the vet. And the vet that fixed him, that takes care of the dog in Rock Hill, South Carolina, was actually there. I think her name's Christine White, if I remember correctly. But there's a senator in South Carolina, a state senator, that they're working on a bill for the same thing about the emergency medical stuff. And I guess there's a senator from Myrtle Beach or something. So, but it's a nationwide kind of like thing. And a lot of people that I talk to about it have no idea. They're like, what do you mean? Thankfully, here in Oklahoma, we have House of Representatives member Anthony Moore from Clinton, Oklahoma, has floated legislation for heat alarms and for the same thing, the transport.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, and and there is pushback, and people, and the heat alarm thing is a pushback from a different deal altogether. But the other side, most people are like, we don't even know that that's a thing. So, and that was one reason. And the reason you came up from, we were talking about Jeremy Van Beek, who's also been on the podcast once a while ago. He's like, I know you need to talk to this Lisa lady. All right. This episode is brought to you in part by Kinetic Dog Food, kineticdogfood.com. We've been using Kinetic for quite a while at the kennel here at Torchlight. We feed the 26 and the 28K formula in feeding for the dogs all over there, but I also use the 24K for all of my imprinting for obedience and imprinting for tracking. If you follow me, you've seen me do the tracking stuff where I do the Dick Stahl method, who we've also had on the show. But it's great because it's large and it doesn't get greasy and gross in the pouch. I've seen a lot of dudes with drop pouches that look like they're carrying dirty socks around, and it's disgusting. This doesn't do that. It's not greasy. Also, it's not a chicken-based formula, so if you get dogs in from Europe, you're not sure if the stomach is going to handle it. And it's a fairly low calorie version too, so you can do 1,000,000 reps and not have to worry about dog getting fat. kineticdogfood.com. Also, we've had the guys on the show before and they talk about it, but they do a lot to make sure that the protein bases are nice and pure, and that the stuff that they're adding to it actually adds additive to it, and they're not filling it with pocket lint and sawdust like a lot of other foods. So hit them up, kineticdogfood.com. She's the one. I was like, yeah. Oh, so here we are, full circle.
We made it happen.
Yeah. Before we get into the heat stuff, because I'm going to get infuriated during that.
Yeah.
Heated during the heat part. I want to talk about the trauma stuff because so not very many veterinarians or are put in a position to help a police dog that has been stabbed or shot. They've dealt with, fall injuries and weird shit that's happened to pet dogs, but to actually get to put all that stuff to practice to save a life of a police dog, it's just rare that they get to do that. However, you have gotten to do that a couple times, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to talk about some of those stories if you can. Tell us kind of how it went down. And as you're talking about it, there's going to be people going, oh shit, I heard that. Yeah, I knew that. I heard that story. And things that even so, if you can, everything's a learning process. Like you did say the first one, what did you learn off of that you applied to maybe the second one, or it's always continuously learning.
So being at a trauma center, obviously there's a lot of things that help these dogs. They're primary care veterinarians to help take care of the vaccines and the deworming and preventative health care for these canines. And then throughout the country, you have specialty centers or trauma centers. And so I was at a trauma center. And so what that allows us is we have canine blood products. We have surgeons who are there. So a lot of these traumas just naturally came to us. And I would say, I can't remember the exact year, but one of the canines that came in, that canine was shot. It was a Fond du Lac canine. Sadly, an officer lost his life at that particular incident. But the thing that made this one unique and where people started taking notice is the canine was in the car. So when gunfire took place, obviously all this stuff was happening, but the canine was in the vehicle and they didn't realize until they got back that, oh my God, he's been shot through the car. And so thankfully that canine ended up living, but then it started, this whole kind of spiraling thing. And then when we started educating back in 2019, one of the Green Bay he was a human medical director, said, I want to bring canine emergency medicine here. And we gave a seminar, and literally a month later, Canine Pyro was stabbed probably at least 4 times, but it could have been a fatal stabbing. I mean, it ruptured his internal carotid in his neck and then went through his esophagus. And those handlers at that scene had just taken the course, like their medical director a month prior. So he was transported by a Bearcat to one of our hospitals in Green Bay. And then they had an ambulance already ready and waiting because we had just talked about this. One of our veterinarians went in the ambulance, transported down to where I was in Appleton. And he had multiple transfusions, multiple surgeries. And, it's this dog. It's amazing that he lived. But literally, we get out of surgery at 3 a.m. I run home, come back, and he looks awful. Like he looks worse than when I left him. And I thought, oh my God, what is going on? He's bleeding somewhere again. So we do all these tests. Sure enough, laying in his kennel, recovering, he twisted his stomach. He was a bloat.
Oh, Jesus.
And I thought, well, that's it. This is over. Like, I just was like, there's no way this dog can go back to surgery. And the head of the canine department said, we've got funding. Go take him back. So took him back to surgery, pexied his stomach, and Canine Pyro is still working. He's soon to retire. But a year later, he not only lived, he went back on duty doing what he absolutely loves. So that was in 2019. And then we had another, it was right after Weleka in 2021. The handler who came through said, I'm just a day guy. I'm not going to need this medical training stuff. A month later, Canine Riggs was shot in the head. And and that handler knew exactly what to do. He had just been to our class a month before. I'm like, oh my God, maybe we need to stop speaking because all these dogs are getting injured after that. So Canine Riggs went back on duty for a while, and that was fantastic. And then in 2023 was Canine Iro. Iro was shot multiple times, and that was in Fond du Lac. And the handler himself was young. I mean, young dog, young handler. He hadn't had any medical care yet, but one of the other officers there had taken our class like 5 times, to the point where I was like, Charlie, why do you keep coming back? This has to be so boring.
Oh, Charlie.
And they gave us the body cam footage, and Charlie is in the back. He is packing all the wounds. He gets the dog on oxygen. He's telling the paramedic what to do. Like, because the paramedic's there. He's like, I'm here. Let me help. They get it on oxygen. They transport him out. And then he came to Appleton, where we worked on him as well. Multiple surgeries. And Canine Iro is working today. He was actually at the conference, Eric.
Yeah.
Canine Iro was with his handler, Blaine. So, I mean, it's just like, we know the education is working. There's no doubt in my mind that these dogs, one, should not have survived with the injuries that they had. And then not only did they survive, but they went back on duty. And
The one thing I really love is in the last, I want to say probably 18, something like that, maybe a little earlier, where it started to become important, and there's a lot of people going around, and almost every conference that you can go to or seminar, there's some sort of medical class at it, which is great, which I love seeing that are doing it, because I know you guys at Waileka scenario based type deal, and you put stress on the guy and everything like that. That shit's real, man. It pays off. It really pays off. We had, in January of 2016, we had a dog that named Jethro back where I work in Canton that I trained, who got shot. His handler just scooped him, put him in the car, and somebody jumped in with him, and they went. They just flew to the emergency vet, and he had been shot 4 or 5 times in the torso, and all of them were through and throughs. Didn't hit a single thing, which is crazy.
That's
one round
crazy.
Right dead center in his head, and it didn't penetrate. But ultimately, they could never get his heart to settle down. And basically it just kept for about a day and a half, and it's almost like his heart exploded. They could not get it settled down. But we did it with that specific dog too. We had been doing medical care, stuff like that. But even training it in the instant when it's happening, you can panic and forget and stuff. So it's probably good that Charlie's doing that. And I met Charlie, I worked with him. I'm not surprised.
He was fantastic. And part of the training is just getting them to think, where are you going to transport? What happens if you're not available? What happens if you're injured? Years ago when we started this, they'd just say, I'm going to call the other canine handler at home and at bed. Like while your dog is hemorrhaging, that's not going to work. So it's more just getting them to think about it. And we always pull in, obviously we're veterinarians. I don't do tactical things at all. So when we do scenario-based training, I have a canine handler there. I usually have a SWAT medic, someone they speak that language. I do not. And so it ties it all in, and they really feel like, oh my gosh, you're getting my heart rate up. You're making me very anxious with this whole scene. So we try to make it as realistic as possible.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time at my place. We had a guy come in and teach CPR, dog CPR stuff. How relevant is that dog CPR? Is it better just to try to get oxygen in them, or is there real benefit to doing CPR?
So if you look at the canine, tactical guidelines, CPR isn't even in that, because if they're dead, and you're going to spend your time dealing with a case you can save, right? So for us in the civilian side of things, and because we have specialty centers so close, we teach them CPR and say, you do CPR until you get to one of us. And then we can do all the things, but at least give it the chance that it deserves in the hospital. So we do teach them transport CPR.
Oh, okay.
Chest compressions. They might not be able to intubate, but they can give oxygen, so they can do those things until they get to us. We also, on the EMS side of things, we have a card. I don't know if you saw our card, but It's a health card for the canine. All the officers keep it in their visor. It has the CPR drug dosages on it. So if a paramedic is there and says, I've got epinephrine right in my hand, all they have to do is look at it and they know the dose to give that dog.
That's OP Canine was giving those out?
Yeah, so we gave those out. We've probably gave out 150 of them. So most of the handlers now have those cards in their squads.
That's nice. That's really cool. So is it still like humans? Get that blood stopped? Is that the big thing?
I think that's been the greatest thing in resuscitation over the years. Yeah, blood. However, no one's carrying canine blood in the field. So we can't get it until they get to us. The thing we've done with the canines in Wisconsin is we've blood typed them. We've had blood typing kits donated through donors. So donors have given us money to get blood typing kits. So unlike military dogs, civilian canines are not pexied. So they don't have that stomach tacking procedure to prevent bloat, and they are not blood typed. So in Wisconsin, we said, well, we want to change that. Let's blood type them. So when they come in with a trauma, we don't have to waste that time. Blood typing, we'll know.
Probably one of my favorite companies to deal with in this industry is Ray Allen Canine. What I really love about Ray Allen Canine is I need one website. I don't got to bounce around to a bunch of different places. I go to rayallen.com and everything I need. Because remember, guys, I have a pet dog training business, same with Ted, and we do police dogs. I'm a pet dog owner. Anything I need dog related. It's not just working dogs stuff. It's dog stuff. Anything I need, Ray Allen has. Rayallen.com has everything you need, from leashes, harnesses, bowls, anything you could possibly do. And here's the cool thing. They're always innovating some really cool stuff. If you follow them on their social media, you'll see Matt on there demoing a bunch of cool stuff they have. They're out in Colorado, got an amazing facility out there. One stop shop, nowhere else to go and look. Rayallen.com. Use the discount code WDR10 RAY for 10% off. WDR10 RAY for 10% off at rayallen.com. So as far as preventative stuff goes, because we always it's hard to do preventative trauma medicine, but go back to the Pexy thing. There's a lot of people who have no idea what you're talking about with that.
I know. So unlike humans, dogs are a little bit different in that their stomach can fill up with air or food or whatever, and it can twist. And when it twists, that twisted stomach causes a bunch of bad things. Most of them are life-threatening, and they can die, essentially, and fast. Yeah.
In like 30 minutes.
It's bad. And so there is a surgery that you can do. Some people call it a stomach tacking. In medical terms, we call it a pexy or a gastropexy. You can do that at a very young age and try to prevent the twist from happening. It's about 95 to 99% preventative in keeping that stomach from twisting. So the military realized this years ago, and they said, we're spending all this money on these dogs. We're going to pexy them before they are deployed. And they are. And so, but on the civilian side, it has not caught on yet, which is sad because it's a bad deal. I mean, it can happen in young dogs, old dogs. It just...
Oh yeah, it's horrible. It's horrible to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we've had dogs pass away from bloat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Justin Melnick, who is a great friend of ours and has been on the show. He was the guy that's in the show on CBS, SEAL Team. Dita, the dog that was in the show. She died a couple of months ago of bloat.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That is sad.
It sucks, right? And so...
and she was little. She was not a huge, big barrel-chested dog.
No, she was like 13 or 12 or 13, I think.
Yeah.
Still, I mean, yeah, but it just is, it's one of those things. And, the misnomer is like, they have to be active. They have to be doing this. Like, you're not supposed to swim after, because you get cramps. It's kind of the same thing. But hearing you say that this dog was getting him out of surgery and was laying in his kennel. And
he twists. I mean, it's my God. Yeah.
Well, and it's one thing that we've talked about. We have that facility in Europe that we're building we're raising green dogs for the Americans and the Canadians and the Australians and most of the English speakers, and it's connected to the veterinary university. But I've floated the idea of every single one of those dogs just getting a Pexy, like just before we even sell the dog. And just be like, when you buy the dog from us, it comes with a Pexy. It's done. And apparently, I'm adding teeth X-rays too. So
After today, yeah.
These last 2 episodes, I'm like, awesome.
We're just gonna add a couple $1,000s per dog. Get taken care of.
And because it is very common, and that's the one thing. Like on day 1 of handler school, like, and I go through the symptoms of what it looks like, and where the veterinarians are and how to get there. And I call my local vet and I tell him, I said, I've got a handler school going.
That is fantastic.
If we have a problem, this would just be expecting us. I don't see that, but it is one of those things. So, and I tell the handlers like, these are the symptoms. This is what it looks like. And, they'll be doing, so we go through all of that stuff. And, cause I'm always there. So and especially when I have a large class of like 15 handlers, I'm not eyes on dogs like 24/7. So because they stay at Airbnbs and stuff and they fuck around with dogs at home, and I'm like, so this is what it looks like. I've had 3 dogs in the last couple of years after hours, like the handlers are at the hotel room or whatever, and they call me, they're like, I'm on the way to the vet, dog's got bloat. I'm like, okay. And they're able to fix it and dogs survive, no problem.
Yeah. You're taking a preventative procedure, which is a lot less money than when they actually twist, because so many bad things happen when they twist. One of the last, because I had complications, it was a law enforcement dog. It twisted. It had horrible complications, had to go back to surgery. But you've taken a preventative $2,500 Pexy, and that bill was $25,000.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And
can they bloat from water?
Yes.
Yeah. I keep telling everybody, I really wish they stop buying fucking buddy bowls, guys. Stop with the buddy bowls. You're creating, first of all, they sit back there and just drink and drink and drink and drink, and then you keep filling it up, drink and drink, and then they wonder why you're trying to track and they're pissing. And then you create an OCD behavior for that dog in the back of the car. He does not need a buddy bowl. And it's the number one selling thing I think that Ray Allen sells. They said they can barely keep up with the buddy bowls. Every time I see here, I say, oh, fuck off with your buddy bowls. They don't need that much water, guys. They don't need continuous supply of water. Your dog is peeing clear. That's not good.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So on the trauma side, and there's so much stuff that you got to teach the guys in these classes and then in the scenarios. On bleeding, do you teach pressure or packing or a little bit of both, or when does it change from just applying pressure to stuffing it?
Well, obviously, if there's a big hole, you're packing and then applying pressure, right? So, and depending on
Pack first and then
where the hole is. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, obviously direct pressure, you just get that on there and hold direct pressure and try to get it controlled. So, on the trauma side of things, hemorrhage and heat are the number 1, number 2 causes of death. Military working dogs, civilian law enforcement dogs, hemorrhage and heat. And so we focus a lot on those 2 things. And trying to, on the hemorrhage side of things, it's surprising to me, but a lot of strictly law enforcement, no medical background, they don't get practice in packing wounds. So they just sit there and they're like, they're doing, one hand, lift it off, do another one. And that's okay. They just haven't had the education. So that's a big part of it, is just saying, let's show you how to pack a wound first. And then, going on from there.
And the other thing that I think is, and I think this comes from the human side. Because I think every police officer in this country at some point in their career has been trained how to self-apply a tourniquet. All right, our next sponsor is really good for the business side of this. If you're in the business of breeding or raising police dogs, or even just regular dogs, pets, or gun dogs, or whatever, one of the biggest hassles that we have to deal with is housing. Making sure it's safe, making sure it's high quality, all these things, make sure it's sterile, it's easy to clean, we can feed. If not, it just creates an infinitely higher workload. On top of that, it's expensive. one of our sponsors from Horizon Structures. They do a great job at making a plug and play drop ready to go as soon as it hits the deck in your location. You have a gravel pad, hook it up to electricity and water. You can put dogs in it that afternoon, and all the guesswork is taken out of it. It's ready to go as soon as it gets there, and you can go from mild to wild. I've seen some that have stainless steel on the inside. It looks like an operating room. It comes with its own air conditioner, all the way down to just like a basic one you need to put in the backyard to satisfy your policy requirements. If you're a canine handler out in the back for a 10x10, he's got an indoor outdoor. He's got a little outdoor thing that's elevated, so he doesn't have to stand in any of his waste, and it's easy to clean. So everything from all the way from a single dog all the way up to, I think they do like, what do they do, Eric? Like they do like 16 and 18 like large sizes. So hit them up, horizonstructures.com, and they will get you set up quickly. And how to apply a tourniquet
I knew where this was
going. And where to do it.
Mhm.
And I can't count the number of people that are like, I want to donate tourniquets to dogs. I'm like, they don't fucking need them.
Right.
Like, it's not, there's not many places we can tourniquet a dog, and they're not going to bleed to death from like in there. I mean, I guess if they lose a leg, like a catastrophic limb amputation,
Yeah,
down
which we
low,
see.
maybe, which I mean, maybe, but, and even then I'm like, you're not, I mean, they're not like people, right? Like we don't have these giant veins like that we have on our legs and our arms.
Well, and their anatomy is so different. You know, they taper so quickly, canines do, that the human tourniquets just fall off. So, I mean, and if we're going to talk about tourniquets, you know, the one that they use is a wide elastic band. I don't care if it's a SWAT T, I don't care if it's battle wrap. One of those two things, if you have to, especially if you're by yourself and you can't hold direct pressure and transport at the same time, we got to do something.
Mm-hmm.
So we just teach them how to use those two elastic bands. But I'll tell you, with all the education that we do, Eric, you brought up the scenarios that we were doing at Waleka. Before we started, the canine handler, and he was on the SWAT team and everything, he said, raise your hand. How many of you carry a human tourniquet? They all raised their hand.
Yeah.
How many of you carry a wide elastic band or gauze or something else if your canine gets injured? Out of a group of 10 canine handlers, maybe 1 or 2 would raise their hand.
Wow.
So we put them through the scenario and said, all right, you don't carry anything, you're not getting anything. Now what are you going to do?
That was my next question, because I think most guys, especially on special operations, carry IFAC stuff. So the dog IFAC is a little different and obviously not near as complicated. So what do you suggest those guys put in a canine IFAC?
You know, I don't think it's much different than what you carry for humans. So clotting gauze, it's the same clotting gauze that you use for humans. There's not special canine clotting gauze. So clotting gauze, packing gauze, obviously your wide elastic tourniquet, SWAT T or battle wrap. A lot of them already carry a needle for a needle D, but I don't believe in giving officers a needle if they don't know how to use it. I mean, like, I'm going to give you this 16 gauge, 3-inch needle, and you're not going to have any idea where to put it. Right. So, but a lot of them do still carry a needle D. That's like the minimum, then you can add in scissors, gloves. I laugh at.
Fuck your gloves. You don't need.
Yeah, no one puts gloves on, so
No.
like they're not going to put them on.
Gauze and more gauze, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Mostly.
Yeah.
Do handlers need to know how to find their dog's pulse, or just let that happen at the hospital?
So we teach them that, like, at least where are you going to take the pulse?
Yeah, I don't even know.
I mean, you don't know?
No.
Femoral vein in the back leg.
The back leg, yeah.
The back leg. So femoral vein, back leg. At least know, because if your dog, I'll tell you, when I looked at the body cam video of Iro, and I was watching just what those handlers were going through, that dog looked dead. I couldn't even see him breathing on that video. And, so situations like that, knowing, do we still have a pulse? Are you alive? Do I have to do CPR? Do I not have to do CPR? That sort of thing. I think it's beneficial that they know where it is.
So we had, early on in my canine career, we had medical stuff, and they were basically just pack and go. So we weren't messing with the pulse that much. And then The last class I took that was CPR related was prior to my brain injury. I don't remember shit. I'll be honest with you.
Mhm.
So if I can forget, even with a brain, people can forget. Like
Yeah.
if they haven't, if it's been 10 years, you're not going to remember where.
Right.
So that the IRO was in the back of a ambulance. They did that.
No, well, the most of the body cam footage is at the scene right there. And then they put him in a squad.
Squad. Okay.
There's Pyro and Iro. Iro went in the back of a squad. Pyro went in an ambulance.
Okay. Yeah. And IRO was the one Charlie was working on.
Correct.
Nice. But you remembered all that shit. That's awesome.
I mean, yeah.
That's
you
crazy.
Just hear his voice in the background. And
so before we get to the heat part, so I am head trainer of or whatever, maybe a senior trainer. Guy gets into a real bad car crash with his canine. I'm called to the scene to help get the dog out. Aside from the bitey stuff, I'm worried about that. What should I be worried about with this dog? Getting him out. I don't know if he's hurt. I have no idea. He might be fine. This happened to us one time when I was head of the unit. Guy got into a really bad crash. They call me. I'm 30 minutes right from there. I get there. I'm like, this is going to be fun because this dog's a dick.
Mm-hmm.
I go to the emergency vet, and one of the other handlers, who's now a sergeant, he's just walking around with him. Yeah, I took him out. He's fine. They checked him out. He's fine. But what should the guys be doing? Like we backboard humans and stuff. What are we going to do with that dog?
You're not going to do that with dogs.
No.
So, I mean, we don't, unless there's obvious paralysis when they come in, then we're careful on how to move them. But with blunt force trauma in dogs, the two things are, I'm going to say hemorrhage again, and then chest trauma, right? So air in the chest. Yeah. How's he breathing? First, hard sometimes, especially with some of these dogs, to look at their gum color or tongue color. But you could be like, oh man, that tongue is really blue. He's not breathing well.
You should know your dog's baseline on that color too.
Right.
By the way,
but if the handler's in the ambulance,
yeah,
I guess they'd probably. I tell guys, I don't know if I'm wrong on this. Get him out and look at him, watch him.
Yeah.
Is something going on here, or does he look okay, or is he stumbling, or I would assume you would know if there was a chest. You
can tell. Problem. I mean, the breathing isn't right. The color's not right. We do that a lot with vet students. I teach vet students a lot. And the first thing, especially when traumas come in, they want to grab a monitor. They want to grab something to measure. And sometimes just sitting back and say, just look at how they're breathing. Look at their color you can almost pinpoint what is going on just by looking at them before we even put a monitor or anything else on their chest. So my point with that is you can do that in the field. You can look at, just like you said, Eric, you can look at their chest. You can look at how they're breathing. You can look at some color somewhere, so you can get a handle on, I think there's a problem in this area.
Yeah. Hopefully they're not dodging and weaving a bite, but just carry one of these. Just take one of these with you. Fucking monster can. It'll save your life. So heat. So I get fucking furious over the heat alarm stuff. I think the agencies that don't provide heat alarms because of cost, I think whoever denies that should be held responsible for that.
I don't think they should have a canine.
No, I believe that handlers who just leave their dog in the car and don't go check on them and find out that the air conditioning broke or the heat alarm didn't work, they should be responsible for that. I don't think they should ever be allowed to have a canine again. And some of them I think should be criminally liable. There are guys that have gone home and just left their dog in the car in the garage. Forgot they had a fucking dog in the car. I would say probably heat kills more dogs than anything. Mm-hmm. It's unacceptable. Where Ted's at, it's happened because everybody in Oklahoma acts like they're broke as shit departments and they don't bullshit. Your SWAT team has night vision.
Right.
Get the F out of here. You won't put in. We had a captain at my department that would fight us on these heat alarm things. And I'm like, I'm coming after you if this happens. This episode is brought to you by our good friends, the Pergasons, down at Highland Canine Training, Highland, Higland Canine Training. They're a really cool place, guys. They have a school for dog trainers, pet dogs and working dogs. That is an amazing spot, man. You can go there. And it's no joke. Like, you're not going to be there for 3 weeks and come back with some stupid certificate. This is like a 6-month school for dog trainers. You learn every aspect of it, including the business side of dog training, which can be tough, especially for us former cops or current cops or military guys that don't really know all that stuff. They've been doing it forever. They offer online courses. They sell police dogs. They have canine handler schools. They offer in-person supervisor courses. Check them out, guys. HighlandCanine.com is the website to go check it out. Everything's on that front page there. It's a very nice website. Check them out, HighlandCanine.com. For the supervisor schools, I think there's a 30% off with the discount code WDR30, HighlandCanine.com.
Here's the other thing, too. Like, we've spent the first 40 minutes of this episode talking about, like, this traumatic trauma that is usually revolves around being shot or stabbed or hit or something, right? And I understand, like, from the human perspective, we think about it a lot, right? Like, we would never allow our police officers or sheriff's deputies or federal law enforcement to go to work without some sort of ballistics on. Like, it's just a thing now, right? And so in that same vein, we have a lot of 501s that are dedicated to donating, donating body armor to police dogs, which is great. We've had Brady on from Brady's Canine Fund. Several of my handlers have gotten those. Great harnesses, great program, everything else. One of the first things that Eric and I teach handlers all the time is that gun calls are not dog calls. And if a dog gets shot on a call, it better not be a surprise, one. And two, we better know what to do, right? So we're talking about some very rarefied, like, situations, right? Like, even if a dog's deployed in a very, very active SWAT team, his chances of being shot during his entire career are very low in terms of the amount of time that he is actually working. However, we now have an entirely set of different dogs, which are single-purpose dogs that are detection only, and also FEMA dogs that are directly in danger of heating up in a car, regardless of what the call type is. So every single working dog in the continent is susceptible to heat injury and is susceptible to... Now, it's not as sexy as donating body armor. I get it. I understand why. Believe me, I do. But far more dogs are killed from heat injuries than
I would agree
from shooting or stabbing. And it's one of those things. So just some kind of background here for those listening. The 501 in Oklahoma, it's called the Oil Capital Canine Fund. We donate heat alarms to underfunded departments. Oklahoma is one of the few states in the country that has a mandatory state certification. We're currently trying to make it so that to get the ability to test for certification or recertification, before you're even allowed to test, you have to demonstrate that the heat alarm works in the vehicle that you're driving. We got some pushback. We got some pushback at the state level for making it mandatory for vehicles right now. And they're like, well, it's kind of common sense. And we have some administrative rules that say should. Like, the car should have a heat alarm. It should activate at this. It should. And I'm like, just change it to will. Just change the word should to will. That's all you have to do. It's not even law.
It's pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, right? And so legal is like, oh, well, isn't it common sense? And I'm like,
hard with legal.
Well, we had to have, and I told the legal guys, I'm like, you guys have literally state statutes that say we have to have audible sirens and visible red and blues, because if not, some sheriff out in the middle of nowhere would give a deputy a flashlight and a megahorn, and a megaphone, and be hanging out the door singing wee woo and flashing his flashlight at people if they can get away with it. So it's not as cut and dry as it seems. And to date, there is Illinois. Yeah, Illinois is the only state in the country that has a mandatory heat policy for police dogs. Pennsylvania has one that's sitting in committee, if I remember correct, but there's the only 2 states that have mandatory, like, heat alarm equipment. And it should be for single purpose, dual purpose, FEMA, search and rescue. Like, if you're a dog, I mean, I think Maine in March of this year, Maine State Police, or it's one of the M states on the East Coast, so it's Maine or Massachusetts, had a comfort dog. So he's one of the little, like,
Mm-hmm.
he's a
Doodle.
Yeah, he's a doodly thingy. He died in a hot car.
Yeah, it was Maine. It was Maine.
No, it was Maine, right? And I know that it wasn't intentional, but they didn't have a heat alarm in that vehicle, clearly.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just a comfort dog.
Because he's just a comfort dog. I mean, what difference does it make? So, I know, and if you're from Maine, don't at me. I know, I'm sorry, it sucks, and I have all faith in the world that those people feel terrible about that. But, yeah, heat injuries are one of the most preventable injuries that we have.
It is
So,
for sure. I think this, I don't know, always creates a lot of pushback, but I always say, number one, the dog, if we're excluding that they're in the vehicle, especially exertional related heat injury, the dog is telling you they're overheating. The handler just doesn't recognize it. They're not seeing it. They're not seeing the cues that the dog is giving because they are telling you they're getting hot. We just have to learn to listen to them. And two, especially in Wisconsin, because we have such varying seasons, my opinion as a veterinarian, because we know it takes dogs at least 6 weeks to acclimate, is these dogs need to be kept outside. A dog in air conditioning and a dog in the heat are not going to acclimate to the changing temperatures in Wisconsin. I know that's a very debatable thing, but
it's not debatable. I've seen it from Bortak dogs, and I've seen it on the sports side. In the spring, this is several years ago, we had a dog from in the St. Louis area. So this is in March, April, which in March, April in St. Louis, you're in the 40s during the day, 40s, 50s. This handler transports the dog to Houston for a weekend trial, and Houston in March is like 1,000 degrees. Yeah, it's hot. It's Houston, and I was decoying, and in this trial, this dog almost strokes out on us. And thankfully, everybody was smart enough to get the dog cooled down. But it's a thing. Like acclimation is a thing. I have I've got some friends that are handlers with some like Bortak or like Border Patrol and some places like that they routinely have dogs that will work at temperatures, at body temperatures that would probably put another one in the hospital, but they're acclimated to it.
Right.
And they spend months of their lives in El Paso, Texas, which is
training at that level.
Yeah. 1,000 degrees.
Yeah, they'll work at 106, 107 degree body temperatures. When years ago, like 20 years ago, we were like, oh my God, not acceptable, can't happen. And we would cool these dogs down. They didn't need to be cooled down. I mean, way back when. And
I would assume Iraq and Afghanistan proved that to be wrong. Is where doctors figured out, oh shit, this dog's running 105, 106, routinely.
Yeah. So Janice Baker.
Yeah, that's who told us. Yeah, Janice, right.
Fantastic. She's
awesome.
done so much on heat related injuries. She's probably one of the first who talked about the signs that the dogs give handlers, the pulled back lips, the flat tongue, she really brought that to the forefront for canine handlers, which I appreciate.
So if you're doing exertion outside with your dog, say it's summer and you get your working dog and you're out here two-balling, playing with whatever, it looks to some guys, they're just panting, right? And their tongue is just out and panting. Will dogs seek shade? Yes,
they do seek shade, but they do it really covertly. Sometimes they'll come and they'll stand behind the handler where their shadow is. Sometimes they'll lope. You guys probably call it something different, but they'll come back and there might be a squad there and they'll be like, oh, I'm just going to pause right here in the shade of the car and then I'm going to come back.
Or they won't spit their toy out.
They won't because they know you're going to throw it. They don't want to do it.
Again, bro.
That makes sense.
We actually have videos in our class that show exactly that, like, what's happening. And then it gets to the point where they call it controlled panting versus uncontrolled panting. I usually describe it as no matter what you say, they're not going to drink because all they're thinking about doing is lifting their head up to get air in and to evaporate more heat. And they're not listening to you. You might give them a command and screw it. They're just that's uncontrolled panting. And that's moving into, I got to stop what I'm doing. Give this dog a break.
So there's been bullshit over the years taught, like Ted mentioned before we got in the air, putting alcohol on their pads of their feet. Some are like, throw them in an ice bath, just get them in water, pour water on them, do this, do that. Again, they're not going to drink water. What is today's state? This episode is brought to you by Dogtra Official, dogtra.com. You guys have heard us talk about it. We've been with Dogtra for a long time. We love them. They're amazing people. We love their product. There's so many different things that they do. The 1900S, the hands-free. They got all kinds of things, poppers, droppers, all kinds of different things with their e-collar. But I have been a proponent of their YS600 bark collars for a long time. Everybody knows I talk about it. When I had the kennel open, I would come in and show videos of all the dogs being quiet. The YS600, they have the YS300 for smaller dogs. But here's the thing, guys. They just came out with a bark collar called the Smart Bark Collar. Dude, this thing is amazing. It attaches to an app on your phone. You can control everything out of it, see in real time what's working, what isn't working with the dog. But here's the kicker. It catches whining. That's the big deal with that Smart Bark Collar. It catches the whining because we all know your dogs learn to whine underneath the threshold of other bark collars, and it's super annoying. But with that Smart Bark Collar, it catches the whining. And in the app, while it's working, you can just reach up and hit the vibrate button. There's a little button on your thing that'll vibrate that if that seems to work a little bit better for your dog. Or you can actually administer your own stim as a little bit extra if need be. You can set minimums, maximums, sensitivity levels to pick up that whining. Check out dogtra.com. They have a discount code WDR10, 10% off a single item over $200. But check out that Smart Bark Collar, guys. It is amazing. We've been messing with it in my facility, and my employees absolutely love it. Check them out, dogtra.com.
So the standard, and this is through a lot of studies, but if we go back to the 80s, one of the things that is still on Dr. Google is still in veterinary textbooks. If I cool them too fast, I'm going to shock the system. I cannot, I get very upset about it, as upset as I can get. So there was a study in 1980 that literally probably had like 6 dogs in it. So it was a really, really bad study. And the interpretation, 2 of the dogs that had heat stroke came in comatose. And those dogs ended up dying. Of course they're going to die. They were already in a coma. And so that statement at the end of that study said, if you cool them too fast, you're going to shock the system. So that just followed for the next like 30 years. And where we've come to is immersion. So immersing these dogs in water. It doesn't have to be an ice bath, but immersing them in water is the most effective way for a conscious dog to drop their body temperature. So when we're talking conscious dogs, they're still panting and they're still eliminating heat through their tongue. So immersing them in water around 60 degrees, so you just say kind of like room temperature water, is the fastest way they're going to remove heat. An unconscious dog, so they're not panting, they do recommend ice water immersion. So unconscious, their body temperature is over 110. Get them in as cold of water as you can get them in to get their body temperature down. So immersion therapy is what is recommended for all dogs that are kind of at that, exhaustion, stroke phase. Get them cool, get them fast, and then transport them. What we know about dogs, their body temperature continues to rise 15 minutes after they stop exercising. So if they're at 106 and we've stopped them from exercising because their signs are showing us like I'm getting a little bit over the edge, their body temperature is still going to rise. So cooling them down, cooling them fast, cool them before you transport. Alcohol on the pads. Actually, there was a study done on that. And when they put alcohol on the dog's pads and compared it to other methods of cooling, the dogs with alcohol on their pads increased their heart rates faster, got more anxious. and cooled slower. So it had the negative effect. It had the wrong, it had the negative effect. So we're actually potentially doing more harm by putting alcohol in their pads. So that has to go away. That just, and I used to manage dogs that way years ago. The other thing we used to do with dogs is we would soak them with wet towels and put wet towels over their body. The way the dog eliminates heat besides panting, it eliminates heat by cool air going over their body. So
That's why
cool
radiators are on cars.
So we were putting towels on their body and they couldn't eliminate
Wrapping
heat.
it in there.
We made it worse. We made it. I just think
who knew that physics still applied to dogs? Thermodynamics
correct.
is still a thing.
Yeah.
Now, like
know
people,
thanks. I feel guilty enough for
Right.
years.
like people, well, dogs, if they get stroked or close to it, are they then susceptible going forward?
So
More susceptible? I
Oh,
should
like
say.
people? Yeah.
yeah. So there's debate in that area. I'm going to say yes. I think their thermal, we call it the thermal regulatory center in their brain, or their temperature center in their brain, I think gets messed up after they've had that close of an event. And so I do think these dogs are a little bit more susceptible. Now, some will debate and say, well, yeah, we tell people they're more susceptible, so handlers don't work them as hard. Handlers, take it a little bit easier on them. So then they gain weight. Now they're not, fit and they're not acclimated. So are they more susceptible because we made them that way? You know what I'm saying? So there's debate on that, but I do think they're more susceptible. I really do.
Yeah, fries their
So
thermometer a little
Their
bit.
thermometer. Yeah, exactly.
the Oklahoma is hot. And it not only is it hot where I'm at specifically, it is like New Orleans, Louisiana humid, like here all the time. I've got multiple body cams of our guys tracking in the summertime. It's hot and they know the signs of heat exhaustion. And if they're tracking, they'll take a couple of minutes and they'll roll up to somebody's house and just ask to use their hose. Or I have body cam of my handlers throwing their dogs in swimming pools and people's swimming pools and backyards. And they come out and like
perfect.
And and then they'll bring another dog out and pick the track up. I also have another deal which kind of feeds into what we were talking about earlier. At a training day several years ago, in September, so not all that hot. Well, it's Oklahoma. It's always a chance of being hot. And this day it was particularly hot. On a Dodge Charger, air conditioner went out, no heat alarm. Dog was in the car 20 minutes. Handler came in freaking out. Myself and one of our other guests who's been on the show before, who was a handler for the Oklahoma Bureau of Narcotics, Anthony Moore, and I immediately started first aid on this unconscious dog. His name was Tito. I immediately took a temperature. Temperature said H.
Mm-hmm.
That's how hot he was. So
It's
I don't know
over.
this day. I don't know. It was hot. So immediately we start running water over him, ice packs in the groin area. And then so luckily the SWAT guys were training next door and their medic had saline in an air conditioned vehicle. So I started a line on his back vein with cold temperature. We immediately loaded him, took him to the vet. By the time we got him to the vet, he had sort of regained some consciousness. Like his eyes were open, but he was hot. He was still hot.
Mm-hmm.
Then it became an issue of the vets there were like, we have X, I don't know what drugs. This is way outside of my wheelhouse. They're like, we have these drugs that we can use to help. We're going to continue to cool him, but he needs to be transported. We're like, okay. So then it became an issue of how do we transport the dog? Can we transport the dog? Nobody knew. Emergency medical didn't know.
Dear.
So the vet, to her credit, was like, literally, she said, fuck it. Put him in my car and I will drive and somebody drive my car and I'll do it. And they drove him 40 minutes all the way up here to Tulsa.
Awesome.
And he ultimately ended up dying. I'm convinced that had we caught it a little sooner, he wouldn't have. And had we caught it a couple minutes sooner, we may have been able to get him before he was either just gone unconscious or was still semi-conscious. And then had we had the ability, because they waited for 45 minutes, an hour fucking around, texting and calling
Mhm.
people, and can we transport and can we do this? And I'm like, come on. And had there been some clear directives, either at the state level of, yeah, you're allowed to do that, he'd be alive.
Well,
100%.
I mean, it carries a 70% mortality rate once you get to that
Yeah.
point. So the odds were not in your favor. You did everything correctly. I mean, you gave that dog the best chance, by cooling it and cooling it and cooling it before you transport it. But a lot of times their clotting system goes haywire. And so they start getting red bruises over their body. And then we get bloody diarrhea. And usually by that time,
Bloody diarrhea is bad.
it's
That's a
bad.
bad sign.
It's bad, especially when it's related to heat stroke.
Can you survive them? Like help them get them out and survive, but can they end up with some sort of brain damage from the heat?
They can. When we talk about brain damage with that, or sometimes they'll have brain damage after a code. So after we do CPR, if we get them back, they're not all the way together. In a pet dog, it doesn't really matter. They're still a great pet. The working dogs, that's a different story, and then we question, can they still sniff? Can they still smell? So working dogs, it's a little bit different if we're worried about, are they all the way there or not? For sure.
Yeah, and then you're in court in a suppression hearing explaining that, well, my dog does have brain damage, but he found your client's cocaine.
And then that's going to get thrown out,
Yeah, right.
something. Eric,
You got to fight that all the time.
you brought up a really good point that I wanted to mention about heat alarms. When you said go back and check on your dog despite having a heat alarm, there have been so many cases, it's technology, right? Where the heat alarm fails. We just had 2 in Wisconsin. Thankfully, both of them involved the vehicle being on fire. And so the heat alarm didn't work.
Yeah.
And both the handler and the dog were not in the car, thankfully, but said, yeah, my heat alarm never went off and my car was pretty much on fire.
Mhm.
So just going back and checking on your dog is so, so important. There was that case in Texas, I think, where the handler was in court and his dog was in the car, and that dog did not survive because he never got a notification.
Yeah, and I've met guys that have the heat alarm and the pagers in the glove box, and I'm like,
there was a dog that died in Virginia or West Virginia or somewhere on the East Coast this summer, and it had a Premier Canine unit in it, but it had been disabled because I don't know why it had been disabled. I don't know the handler. I don't even remember. But yeah, it had been disabled because I would assume it's because it's annoying when it goes off, and because there's a little button they have, and I mean, depending on how, like, where the installers put it and whatever else, like, you physically, like, you have to disable the unit when you take the dog out of it, and if you don't, then it goes off, and I guess that pisses people off. Which I mean, just push the fuck.
Yeah, there's some can't turn off. It's kind of a weird system, some of it, but better than a dead dog.
Right.
But the supervision who deny the purchase of it, who the fuck do you think you are? Really, honestly, is my answer, or my question to them is, who do you think you are? It is not your effing money. What do you care? I don't get. Oh, we're paying $1,800. Fuck off.
We had a dog die here last September at a sheriff's office just south of Oklahoma City. They have dogs from my kennel. This dog that died was not mine. And they didn't want to put a heat alarm in the car. They also, that specific vehicle had been at my handler school with another handler, and the entire time the handler had been sending emails up the chain. This car doesn't have a heat alarm. This car has knowingly had air conditioning issues, and they still refuse to do anything about it. When that dog died, that fucking sheriff sent everything over to Oklahoma County Oklahoma County District Attorney's Office and the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation for the investigation of the handler for possible criminal action.
Oh my gosh.
I swear to God, I'm not making this up. And this is somebody that has bought dogs from me. Like, they've written me checks, and I am not super enthused with them. But the kid that had, it was a single purpose lab. Dog's name was Dollar. That kid did nothing incorrect. He had asked for heat alarms. He had asked multiple times, and each time they basically just told him no, because the dog was assigned to the corrections and not assigned to patrol. And the sheriff, because they're political creatures, instead of owning it, and they're like, "Oh, we're going to let Oklahoma County Sheriff, District Attorney's Office."
It gets blamed on the
Yeah.
And the OSBI contacted people, and they're like, well, and I was kind of shocked. I'm like, why are you even investigating? There's been no crime committed. There's no statute on this. Like, what? Like, if you're going to prosecute somebody, I mean, and that's what they were talking about, prosecuting that poor kid for, I don't remember what it was. It's like some mistreatment of animals, some bullshit thing. And I'm like, it's not, I mean, obviously nothing happened, but just the sheer nuts on that dude, on that sheriff, for them to do that and not just fucking say, yeah, we
messed
up. But you know, and Oklahoma County Sheriff's Office, or Oklahoma County District Attorney's Office, said the same thing. They're like, there's not really anything for us to do here. I mean, like, what do you want me to do? Like, we can't prosecute him because there's no crime. There's no crime committed. I mean, what are we going to do? So it just really, really.
They just wanted in the newspaper they could blame somebody.
And that
all right,
kid.
Yeah. I'm just increasingly getting angry. So let's switch gears. I want to talk about. So, I have never been to Wisconsin, and then this year I've been there twice. I went to Fond du Lac and taught a seminar over there, and then I came and taught at the Walleka conference. I've never been to a conference at all, working dog where they bring the dogs to work, where they had a veterinary aid station set up for free for you to come. We talked about this in the last episode with Karen, and I reached out immediately once I started hearing what was going on. I reached out to Jeff Meyer, Colorado Canine Conference, because it's a working conference. I'm like, dude, what a fucking idea. I think he actually reached out to you guys. Talk about Op Canine. Talk about what you do there, what you're catching, and how important this shit is. Because I'm telling you, there are guys that have come to you every year, and it's the only time they go to the vet.
Somebody that's been with us since the beginning is Arnaud at ALM, based out in Vegas. Arnaud makes fantastic bite suits. I've been a senior level PSA decoy for a long time. All of my trial suits are ALMs. I love them. I've sent my one jacket back multiple times to have new sleeves put on it because it fits so well. Arnaud works with you through the process, helps you get a design set up. In fact, when I went out to see him in Vegas, he had my original design still in my original pattern still in the workshop there, and he was able to make me another jacket just out of the one that I have that's like 10 years old. He made me another one. Super high quality materials, super high quality stitching, great service after the fact if you have to have repair work done. Hit him up, ALM Canine Equipment. That's the letter K number 9.com. ALM Canine Equipment. Use this discount code WD Radio for 10% off. Another person that has been with us since the beginning is the person that wrote the music for the intro and the outro on this. His name's Brother Deeg. He's no longer with us. He's a super talented musician, and I actually met him at a live show here in Tulsa. Super nice guy. He was super supportive of what we do here and what police dogs do in general. And he was gracious enough to allow us to use the music for that. Yeah, wherever you're at, you can look at him on iTunes and on Spotify. Just Brother Deeg, spelled DEGE, and it's brotherdeeg.net.
So thankfully, we're probably in our 8th year, the board of Walleka said, you know what, maybe this medical thing, we should get this kind of going. And when we initially started, they gave us 2 hours on Wednesday morning to talk about safety for canines, which was great. We're like, okay, well, at least you're having us here. And then, that Wednesday morning is at the end of the conference. A lot of people are
gone. Yeah.
Gone, hungover, they're done. They don't want to listen to a 2-hour lecture. So it kind of over the years morphed, and now it's a full-on medical station. And then they allow the handlers to come through our station to learn something medical related. And
unfortunately, something about their dog sometimes.
Correct. Yeah. So this year was really busy. We had quite a few minor injuries. So we sutured an ear. It was a pretty nasty ear laceration that just happened to hit the artery on the outside of the ear. And that,
Like
of
they were
course,
dying.
they shake their head and nothing, you try all the things. So we had to suture that dog. A couple other ear things, tons of diarrhea, stress diarrhea this year it was a big one. And so just treating those dogs, the whole goal is to keep them working for the conference if we can. We sent one dog to the university. That dog ended up having a condition that's probably going to be career limiting for that dog, which is pretty sad. And then another dog who saw the ophthalmologist, because we brought in an eye doctor this year and realized that the dog is blind and it's one eye.
Yeah, I met that
Yeah.
dog. Yeah. I was
Yes.
like, what?
Yeah.
That is way more common than you think.
But
know,
they didn't know, right?
She didn't know. She had no idea. And so, but working through
Yeah, I sat with her the day they were doing the drawing.
Yeah.
I sat with her and she was all bummed out. And I'm like, well, at least like, not your fault, right?
And now some of those problems you've been having with training, is it because we have no vision on this one side, so it's good. So now she knows the dog's going to stay working, but things that she can work through, obviously. So just being able to be there to keep the dogs working through the conference. You're right. Sometimes we identify problems that have been going on for a long time, but the good thing is the handlers are getting more and more comfortable. This is a very tight knit community. They're getting comfortable to say, "Hey, can you take a look at this? Can you give me some suggestions?" And we're happy to talk with their veterinarians as well, because it's all a team. I mean, the whole goal is to keep these dogs healthy and working. So we feel really good about it.
You guys, it's all donated time?
It's all donated time. We're all volunteers.
Including the techs?
Yeah.
You had a lot of help this year. I was impressed. I was like, this is one of the best ideas I ever heard of, especially when I found out about, the one guy came to my station. He goes, "Hey, I don't have my dog here. Can I watch?" That was the one that you had to send to the university. Then maybe another one with cataracts or something, and the blind one, and then this one had that problem and that problem and that. I'm like, holy shit! Like that's crazy that they got that. It's such a good idea, and then then that gets them to come to your station too, like with your teaching station. Yeah, you probably bring a tub of metronidazole, like a big giant.
We bring a lot of that. The new thing is, probiotics, prebiotics. We go next year. We decided, I think this is what we're going to do. We're going to have a pack, like a diarrhea pack. So then when we're just like, here, just take this, because most of the dogs weigh the same. So we feel it's a good thing. The organization Op Canine we've done a lot since 2019, between the handler cards. It's essentially canine ID cards. The military,
that's awesome. I like that.
Very familiar with that. The blood typing, we've started a canine registry so we can look at cause of death. So we know that we have 300 canines in Wisconsin. We look at why are they retired or how they die, because that can help us decide on how we're going to prevent things from happening. So if we had 40% die of GDV, then we can start educating about Pexies more, or something like that.
300 canines in Wisconsin?
Yeah, we have about 300 on the registry now.
Dude, that's crazy, because there is, Ted, there was 172 teams there, and there was hundreds that didn't make it. A couple, at least 150 more or whatever. They couldn't, because it's like they have a time. All right, so 4:00 on Wednesday is your registration, and everybody's sitting on their computers with all their shit ready to go. 4:00, put send. You might make it. My class sold out in 4 minutes, right? And I had 15 people. The rest of the whole 172 conference was like 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Sold out. Gone, because they do limit it. So most of the handlers, if not all of them in Wisconsin, belong to Weleka, it sounds like. Or a pretty good it's high portion of them.
It's a state to look at. They have just an incredible organization.
I agree. I had heard of Weleka. I didn't know that, but I'm definitely paying attention to them more. Like, got to watch a little bit of legal stuff come out of there and see where that goes and stuff like that. But it was one of the best groups I've had at seminar where they worked for me. Like I told them in the beginning, I need this out of you, and they were on it. So where we got to do extra stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Problem is the Wednesday noon comes around. They're like, I got a 4-hour drive. I'm out. And I'm like, dude, we still got, I had 3 hours to work of shit to do.
Yeah.
So yeah. So now I know I'll mix it up and do something a little bit different if they ask me to come back. So
I think probably will.
Well, great. You have anything you want to plug?
No, I think I did. Yeah, it's just like, being a 501c3 and all volunteers. That's how we make it happen. So
yeah, how can people help? How can people donate to that
website? There's lots of options to donate. opk9ofwi.com, and go to the website. There's a donate button. And obviously it goes towards keeping this thing going. So
yeah, the diarrhea pack is a good idea.
Oh, good. I mean, we just thought of it after this year.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Nobody's coming and getting Giardia there. They're just stressed.
They're and they're smelling
Battle
200 dogs. Yeah. I mean,
battle poops. Is that what you called it?
Yeah, it's exactly what I call it. Yeah.
I like that.
I do too. I like that as well.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
I'm lucky. My vet, I call him. I go, hey, for the kennel, I need 100 count of Metro. And they're like, yeah, come down. I get it. And we're halving them and quartering them depending on the dog. And yeah, and if that doesn't work now, we know we have other issues.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ted, where can people get a hold of you?
Torchlight Canine, letter K number 9, Torchlight Pets. If you want to see all the pet dogs that the staff is working with, HRD Police Canine, working_dog_radio, or Working Dog Radio on Facebook, and then Oil Capital Canine Fund and OC Canine Fund on Instagram for ours, for the 501 here in Oklahoma. Yeah, that's it.
Cool. I'm at Van S Canine, workingdogradio.com for our merch. We got the store fixed, so it's back up and running. I am now booking my e-collar seminar. I'm going to keep doing that one for a little while. I was going to not shelf it, but put it in the inventory for 26, but I have a lot of people reaching out for it. So I'm starting to book 26. I'm going to try to do 2 a month. Tell everybody, Lisa, the name of your partner's dog.
Josh, Josch.
We love it.
Yeah.
I said he's like a frat boy.
Yeah.
Buddy Josh. He's a good dog. He was at my class. He was really good. We got a lot of good work out of him.
I love when dogs have people names.
Yeah.
I think he would agree that my e-collar class helped him a lot. Just think a little bit differently. And
I noticed a difference. I think I told you that.
Yeah. And it just fixes so much stuff at home as well as anywhere else. Mm. But it helps him then, because I know he likes training, to see problems in other dogs and go, hey, let's try this. So I'm coming back in the spring for another basic and then 2 days of advance. So we're going to be there for a full week.
Oh, let us know. We'd love to have you up.
Yep. I think he knows. So yeah, he can take me to dinner. You guys, we can go out.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Have something good. But it was glad you could come on. I'm glad this worked out.
Yeah.
We haven't done a good medical episode in a while. So
yeah. Thank you.
All right. We'll see you on the next one, guys.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Yep. Bye.